Chapter 5 Dreams. Allie Point of View. Dadan was not very happy when she discovered Sabo, but she eventually agreed to let him stay, as we all knew she would. She was such a pushover. Once they woke up, the boys headed out again, but I had to take a couple of days to recover. Healing in the One Piece world was weird, but I wasn't about to complain. My injuries would have taken months to heal on Earth. Finally, when I was able to join in on the forest shenanigans, we started dueling each other. Whenever I had a match with Ace, he'd dodge and block, but still refused to harm me. When I fought with Sabo, he'd strike me, but I could tell he was holding back. And Luffy couldn't even hit straight. After a few weeks of the same, I was through with the BS. "I can't train with you guys anymore," I told them bluntly, crossing my arms. All three of them sagged a bit. "Why not, Allie?" Luffy whined. "I won't get any stronger like this. I want to be on level ground with you guys, but you won't even fight me properly. You're treating me like a porcelain vase, and I've had enough." I finished my rant and stormed off into the woods. They wanted to be like that? Fine. I was going to become a rival pirate. 5 minutes later, I was hopelessly lost. Again. I kicked a tree in frustration. Ow! I hopped around on one foot before collapsing dramatically against the tree trunk. "Forests suck!" I shouted. I vaguely recalled a show I had watched on TV once when I was sick. They had to fashion weapons for hunting. It was worth a shot. Relying on my limited fever-hazed memory, I managed to make a crude spear out of a pointy stick. It's better than nothing. I wondered why I didn't think of that the last time I was lost in the forest. Oh right, I was panicking. This time I had determination in my heart. I wasn't going to be afraid this time. I found a nearby tree with a nice wide hole in the trunk and carried handfuls of moss up the tree to form a sort of nest to sleep in. I also started marking the trees so I could navigate my surroundings. It made travel slower, but I didn't get lost anymore, moving between my new home and the nearby stream I had discovered. I now had shelter and a steady supply of fish and fresh water. I was set. One night, as I lay within my cozy nest, it finally sank in that I had just cut off my ties to the boys due to stubbornness and pride. I couldn't run back crying to them, though. I had to make them see that I wasn't some weak little girl. I was going to get stronger, and one day I'd become strong enough to defeat a Navy admiral single-handedly. I cackled. I had found my dream. I had been thrust into a world where one could do practically anything. Nobody said I had to follow the script. Luffy was going to become the king of the pirates, regardless of my actions. I had no doubt of that. I'd carve out my own path, though. I'd become a main character in my own right. It would be my story. Mine. My own. My precious! I giggled. The next morning I wove some grass together into a flag-ish shape and used clay mixed with a little water to paint my Jolly Roger, an upside-down skull and crossbones. I hung it over my nest, along with a sign which read, "Property of the Alley-Oop Pirates. No trespassing." I settled back onto my heels, extremely proud of myself. Then I started a strict exercise regime that would make even Zoro proud. Day in and day out, I trained, hunted, and ate my hard-earned fish. I even learned how to swim. I'd show those stupid boys that I could handle myself. Ace Point of View. Sabo, Luffy, and I sat near the river, lounging on the ground after eating our lunch. Sabo was slouched over, using a stick to draw in the dirt, and Luffy was uncharacteristically quiet. I lay on my back, staring up at the sky. It had already been a month, and Allie was still nowhere to be found. I was worried about her. What if she was eaten by the beast of Mount Corvo? What if she was found by Blue Jam's men? Sabo tossed his stick aside and straightened up. "Hey Ace, why don't you show us that fancy ramen place you talked about once?" I could tell that Sabo was worried too, and was seeking a distraction. Luffy perked up. "What's ramen? Is it food?" I sighed in defeat, pushing myself to my feet. "All right, but we have to go in disguise." We raced, laughing, through the streets of Hightown after crashing through the restaurant window, leaving a tall stack of empty ramen bowls behind us. Sabo, is that you? A well-dressed man on the street seemed to recognize my friend as we passed, and Sabo's eyes widened. No, that's not me, he said hurriedly. Gotta go! He bolted off, and me and Luffy rushed after him. That was odd. Leaving the city behind, Luffy and I confronted Sabo on a bluff overlooking the sea. He explained that he was actually the son of a noble who ran away from home because nobody cared about him. One day I'm going to sail away around the world and write a book about my adventures. That's my dream, he told us. Well, I'm going to become an infamous pirate known all around the world, I countered. Luffy beamed. I'm going to become the king of... Luffy beamed. I'm going to become the king of the pirates. Sabo and I laughed. Then I frowned. I wonder what Allie's dream is. Sabo stood up. That's it. I'm going to find her and apologize. I don't like not knowing if she's okay. I scowled. I'm going to find her first. Luffy grinned. It's a competition to find Allie, then. Hee 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 hee. The three of us split up, each taking a portion of the forest to search. After 2 hours of climbing over tree roots and leaping over streams, I heard a rhythmic whacking sound from somewhere off to my left. Following it, I emerged into a small clearing, but as I stepped forward, the ground dropped out from beneath me and I fell into a pit trap. The whacking stopped. I looked up, meeting the green-eyed gaze of a familiar blonde girl. Allie cackled down at me, putting on a deeper voice. Mwahaha! You've been captured by the mighty Alley-oop pirates. Plead your case or walk the plank. I blinked dumbly up at her. Huh? She giggled and helped me out of the hole. Hi, Ace. I took in the clearing. There was an area with logs set up as training dummies, a fire pit scattered with fish bones, and at the center a massive tree adorned with a Jolly Roger. Laying inside the hole in the tree appeared to be a large nest made of moss. A few spears leaned against the trunk of the tree, and vine ladders led off into the canopy. Far overhead, the entire clearing was blanketed by a tangle of vines and planks that almost looked like a giant spider web. I blinked and looked back at Allie, who had a grin on her face and a challenging glint in her eye. I knew what she wanted from me. I gulped, fighting my instincts, and punched her. Or rather, I tried to punch her, but she spun away at the last second, grin widening, and aimed a kick at my head. I saw it coming as if in slow motion, but I couldn't duck in time. The blow connected solidly with my skull, sending me flying into a nearby tree trunk, and I sat there, stunned. What happened to her? Allie deepened her voice again. Mwahaha! Another flawless victory for Captain Haruki D. Allie! Then she flopped onto her back with a satisfied grin, tucking her hands behind her head. I narrowed my eyes. Victory? I was just caught off guard. I'd show her. I would never run away from a fight. I retrieved my pipe, my fingers tightening around the metal. You wanted me to hit you, Allie? Fine. I'll hit you. Allie point of view. I did it! I actually landed a blow on Ace, and he threw a punch at me. Finally! I closed my eyes, letting the sun wash over me. Feeling a ping above me, I rolled to my feet, snapping my eyes back open as Ace's pipe smashed onto the ground where my body once lay. I giggled. This was going to be fun. We sparred for the next hour, and I managed to land 10 hits on him in that time. He, however, only managed to land 1 hit, right at the end, when I was distracted by one of my other traps going off. We called the fight there. Sabo and Luffy were swinging from a vine net, arguing with each other. Or rather, Sabo was scolding Luffy while Luffy munched happily on the fish I had left as bait. I cut them down with a sharp rock. Sabo, Luffy, Ace called to them. I found her first. He had a smug look on his face. No fair, Luffy shouted. You just got lucky, Sabo added. The three started to tussle, and I gazed fondly at their flailing limbs. Gosh, I missed them. Sabo finally extricated himself from the pile and approached me, his head lowered in apology. Allie, he started, I'm sorry for not fighting you properly. Will you please come spar with us again? Luffy nodded fervently from his place on the ground. Please, please! I gave a knowing smile to Ace, and he grinned back. All right, I said. Luffy scrambled to his feet and gave me a rubbery hug. Then I showed them around my pirate fort, with lots of sparkling eyes on Luffy's part. I showed them around my pirate fort, with lots of sparkling eyes on Luffy's part, and they convinced me to return to Dadan's for a visit. She won't admit it, but Dadan's been worried sick, Sabo said. She sent all of the bandits out to search for you. We hunted a large bison along the way, and it took all 4 of us to carry it to Dadan's. When we walked into the house, the bandits were shocked and overjoyed to see me, but all Dadan said was, "Oh great, Garp's other brat is back." I knew she was relieved, though. Over dinner, I told the bandits and the boys about my many escapades, and I finished with, "I can't wait until the day I can set out on the sea." "Oh, that reminds me," Luffy said abruptly. "What's your dream? Sabo's gonna write a book, Ace is gonna become infatuated." "Infamous, Luffy!" Ace interjected, an annoyed look crossing his face. Luffy nodded several times. "Right, that! And I'm gonna be king of the pirates. So what about you?" "Well," I pretended to think for a second. "I'm gonna become strong enough to defeat a Navy admiral." The 3 boys gulped, staring at something behind me, and I felt a chill swirl through the room. I slowly turned to face the doorway, where Garp stood with a nasty gleam in his eye. I heard his knuckles crack. "You want to say that again, you brat?" he roared. I smiled nervously. "Oh, hi, Gramps." Luffy jumped up on his chair. "Allie said she's going to be a strong pirate and defeat an admiral," he said proudly. "All 4 of us are going to be pirates." A series of rapid punches sent all 4 of us to the floor, large bumps rising from our heads. "I thought I raised you better than that," he growled. "You didn't raise them at all," Dadan muttered under her breath. Garp glared at her over his shoulder. "What was that?" She cowered, backing up several steps. "I didn't say a thing," she exclaimed. He turned back to us. "Tomorrow morning I'll begin your personal training. You'll all become respectable Marines like me." In the bedroom that night, we all exchanged a silent nod and we fled before morning, heading back to my fort. The only thing we left behind was a single note declaring our intentions.